the Starship Enterprise. I feel like I should lean this way because everyone's over there. Try to stay upright. So the William Stafford readings have been going on for a long time. Because his birthday month is January, these happen throughout the region. And as Carol was mentioning, when I was first asked to participate in one, which I think was one of the ones that happened at Barnes & Noble a few years back, I had actually not ever read William Stafford. But one of the things that's so interesting about the William Stafford events is that it's not really a requirement that the people who participate be William Stafford experts. Of course, some of them are, and some of them are from the organization Friends of William Stafford that sponsors the event. But one of the reasons that the birthday celebrations exist is to help new people come to William Stafford's work and learn about the work that he did. So because we never know sort of where people fall on that spectrum, I like to, as a host, I like to read a bio of William Stafford at the beginning of each of these. So I'm gonna do that now. This is from the Academy of American Poets, so that's not a bad website to check out, poets.org, a lot of information there. William Stafford was born in Hutchinson, Kansas in 1914. He received a BA and an MA from the University of Kansas at Lawrence, and in 1954 a PhD from the University of Iowa. During the Second World War, Stafford was a conscientious objector and worked in the civilian public service camps, an experience that he recorded in the prose memoir, Down My Heart. He married Dorothy Hope France in 1944, and they had 4 children. In 1948, Stafford moved to Oregon to teach at Lewis and Clark College. Though he traveled and read his work widely, he taught at Lewis and Clark until his retirement in 1980. His first major collection of poems, Traveling Through the Dark, was published when Stafford was 48. And I want to pause there. I host an all-ages and uncensored reading that we started here in town in 2004. The all-ages part of that is extremely important to me, and one of the things that I've learned from the Vancouver arts community is that when you feel personally ready to begin to try to write or draw or paint or write songs, that's when it's the right time to do it, and that's at different times in people's lives. So please don't listen to anybody who tells you that if you haven't gotten started as a poet by the age of 20 that it's not going to happen. That kind of stuff is nonsense. So it's one of the things that I personally love about Stafford, that he got started on the writing part of his life a little bit later than some people. The book, Traveling Through the Dark, won the National Book Award in 1963. He went on to publish more than 65 volumes of poetry and prose. Among his many honors and awards were a Shelley Memorial Award, a Guggenheim Fellowship, a Western States Lifetime Achievement Award in Poetry. In 1970, he was the consultant in the Poetry to the Library of Congress, a position currently known as the Poet Laureate. Stafford's poems are often deceptively simple. Like Robert Frost, however, they reveal a distinctive and complex vision upon closer examination. James Dickey, writing in his book Babel to Byzantium, notes that Stafford's natural mode of speech is a gentle, mystical, half-mocking, and highly personal daydreaming about the Western United States. Stafford died in his home in Lake Oswego, Oregon on August 28, 1993. So for some time since then, we've paused in January to celebrate him. And the way that we do that is through an open mic, which I love because it's the most democratic form of poetry reading with a small d. And because I know the names of some of the folks out there and some I don't, I may do a little bit of pointing, but I don't mean to be rude, or gentle waving in your direction. And we'll see who wants to participate, and we'll go through as many of those people as possible. And then the end of the program is going to be me and our guest musician, Caroline Chaparro. We've worked out 3 of Stafford's poems for your enjoyment to close the evening. So I think I will start with the gentleman in the front. I believe you brought something that you'd like to read. And those of you who might want to participate but didn't bring a Stafford poem, there are a couple of Stafford books on the table over here if you would like to peruse those and maybe throw your hat in the ring. And one more thing. When you come up, please introduce yourself. Just tell us what your name is, and then we'll know who we're doing.
Yay.
There are two poems in this little book entitled the Methow River Poems. Probably you're more familiar with them than I am, but I'm quite impressed with his style of characterizing man's involvement in nature. This one's called Silver Star. To be a mountain, you have to climb alone and accept all the rain and snow. You have to look far away when evening comes. If a forest grows, you care. You stand there, leaning against the wind, waiting for someone with faith enough to ask you to move. Great stones will tumble again. Great stones will tumble against each other and gouge your sides. A storm will live somewhere in your canyons, hoarding its lightning. If you are lucky, people will give you a dignified name and bring crowds to admire how sturdy you are, how long you can hold still for the camera. And sometime, they say, if you last long enough, you will hear God. A voice will roll down from the sky, and all your patience will be rewarded. The whole world will hear it. Well done.
Yay.
I had one other one. I'm a little nervous. I hope you don't notice that.
Doing great so far. You didn't tell us your name though.
Oh, my name. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Richard Paxton.
Thank you.
This one's entitled Ask Me. Sometime when the river is ice, ask me mistakes I have made. Ask me whether what I have done is my life. Others have come in their slow way into my thought, and some have tried to help or to hurt. Ask me what difference their strongest love or hate has made. I will listen to what you say. You and I can turn and look at the silent river and wait. We know the current is there, hidden, and there are comings and goings from miles away that hold the stillness exactly before us. What the river says, that is what I say.
Very nice. That's okay.
Nice job.
Good
reading.
You know, not miss anybody.
Order is a gorgeous thing. My name is Eileen Elliott, and the poem I'm going to read sort of supports one of William Stafford's hallmarks in his life, which is his support of pacifism and his concern about the effects of war. And I was thinking about the bystanders and what happens with them within a war situation. And this poem that I'm reading, it links both, and it's from a book of Civil War poetry. It's a poem by Longfellow, and it talks about the soldier who dies and the consequence of that death as well, elsewhere. It's called Killed at the Ford. He is dead, the beautiful youth, the heart of honor, the tongue of truth. He, the light and life of us all, whose voice was blithe as a bugle call, whom eyes all followed with one consent, the cheer of whose laughter and whose pleasant word hushed all murmur of discontent. Only last night, as we rode along, down the dark of the mountain gap to visit the picket guard at the ford. Little dreaming of any mishap, he was humming the words of some old song. 2 red roses he had on his cap, and another he bore at the point of his sword. Sudden and swift, a whistling ball came out of a wood, and the voice was still. Something I heard in the darkness fall, and for a moment my blood grew chill. I spake in a whisper, as he who speaks in a room where someone is lying dead, but he made no answer to what I said. We lifted him up in his saddle again, and through the mire and the mist and the rain, carried him back to the silent camp, and laid him as if asleep on his bed. And I saw by the light of the surgeon's lamp 2 white roses upon his cheeks, and one just over his heart, blood red. And I saw in a vision how far and fleet that fatal bullet went speeding forth, till it reached a town in the distant north, till it reached a house in a sunny street, till it reached a heart that ceased to beat, without a murmur, without a cry. And a bell was tolled in that far-off town for one who had passed from cross to crown, and the neighbors wondered that she should die.
Good evening. My name is April Bullard. I'm new to William Stafford, but being a person that loves children's nursery rhymes and poems, I found one of his in a collection for children. It's called A Story That Could Be True. If you were exchanged in the cradle and your real mother died without ever telling the story, then no one knows your name. And somewhere in the world, your father is lost and needs you, but you are far away. He can never find how true you are, how ready. When the great wind comes and the robberies of rain, you stand on the corner shivering. The people go by. You wonder at their calm. They miss the whisper that runs any day in your mind. Who are you really, wanderer? And the answer you have to give, no matter how dark and cold the world around you is, maybe I'm a king.
Wow, that's cool.
Tony?
Hi, I'm Tony Partington. I'm going to read 2 of William Stafford's and one of my own. I'm going to start with one called One Evening. On a frozen pond a mile north of Liberal, almost 60 years ago, I skated wild circles while a strange pale sun went down. A scattering of dry, brown reeds cluttered the ice at one end of the pond, and a fitful breeze ghosted like surface oddities of snow. No house was in sight, no tree, only the arched, wide surface of the earth holding the pond, and me under the sky. I would go home, confront all my years, the tangled events to come, and never know more than I did that evening, waving my arms in the lemon-colored light. This next one is one that he wrote, and I was inspired to write a response to it. And I'm not sure if there's a formal name for doing that, but the poem really touched me. It's very heartfelt. And I thought, I want to just take what I feel from this and see if I can write my response to his work. The poem that he wrote is called Bess. Ours are the streets where Bess first met her cancer. She went to work every day past the secure houses. At her job in the library, she arranged better and better flowers. And when students asked for books, her hand went out to help. In the last year of her life, she had to keep her friends from knowing how happy they were. She listened while they complained about food or work or the weather. And the great national events danced their grotesque, fake importance always. Pain moved where she moved. She walked ahead, it came. She hid, it found her. No one ever served another so truly. No enemy ever meant so strong a hate. It was almost as if there was no room left for her on earth. But she remembered where joy used to live. She straightened its flowers, books, and gave me a look that said I should know better. When the old neighbor next door was ill, Bess carried soup and crackers from her house to his, stayed the polite amount of time, listened to how his legs didn't work and his hearing was shot, told me his words got stuck in her head, and when the sky turned mustard yellow, told me he was gone to a place where joy would find him eventually. After that, we always walked to school together. One morning, Bess showed me the jagged scar in her left palm, traced over the rippled pink skin until I saw that the scar spelled J-O-Y. She described the way she'd rested her palm on the old man's head until she was sure her gift of joy had taken hold within him. And smile big, I'd pretend to catch the joy she was sending and draw it close to my heart, like feeling better than when I arrived. When I learned Bess was ill, I thought about the old man and the way Bess convinced me she'd sent him on to a joyful place. I saw her at the library. She hadn't lost one bit of optimism, returned 3 books and gave her 3 nickels for old time's sake, opened my left hand and showed her the word love written in my palm. I placed my hand on the top of her curly hair. Her smile opened, my heart opened, and she wished me well. Thank you.
Would you like to read one, or are you both? Okay. Yes, please, go ahead. Yeah, just tell us who you are when you get up there. Yeah. I think we'll read Bell, because it's like the sound. Yeah, Bell. Sure.
My name is Daniel, and I just learned something here that I've wanted to know for at least the last 35 years about a poem I'm going to read from Stafford. I do have to remember just personally that I did get to see him a couple of times, and I think he changed my life. This is a poem that's called When I Met My Muse, and it comes out of Oregon Message, Poems by William Stafford, which is quickly falling apart, and one that I'll probably have to get bound pretty soon. I glanced at her and took my glasses off. They were still singing. They buzzed like a locust on the coffee table and then ceased. Her voice belled forth, and the sunlight bent. I felt the ceiling arch and knew that nails up there took a new grip on whatever they touched. I am your own way of looking at things, she said. When you allow me to live with you, every glance at the world around you will be a sort of salvation. And I took her hand. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Robin Thomas, and I had attended several of these William Stafford readings at the old library, and very happy that we're now having them here at the new library. I do subscribe to there's a newsletter that comes out 3 times a year from the Friends of William Stafford, and I brought a copy, and I will put it over there. If you're interested, you can subscribe to it, and I find it there's always new things in there. It seems like there's something about William Stafford that no matter how much people have read, there's always more. I don't know why that is, but it's very heartwarming. The poem that I picked out is called January's Child, and since we're celebrating his birthday this month, I thought that fit. My life arrived in winter, wrapped in fur. Ears heard the darkness, hands explored a wall. All night a wind reminded, this is the world. Silent spectators, my parents and I, observed this great drama and lived it in our bone houses. Life and the cold. Those monuments cling to me, those years, towns and houses where we lived. And now these, my children and myself, grown old.
Before we come to the music and poetry portion of the evening, our guest musician for this evening is Caroline Shapiro, and she asked if she could participate in the open mic as well, and of course that's fine. Is there anybody who got brave while we were going through the rest of the open mic, just so that I know where things stand? Okay, so we'll hear a little bit from Caroline, and then she and I are going to do a little something for you. So please say hello to Caroline Shapiro.
Just do this. Does this work?
I sure hope so. It's working before. Did you switch it on?
Yeah, I switched it off. Okay. Well, I first heard William Stafford when I was in high school, and I kind of analyzed some of his poetry in my senior year, and I really liked it. And I just reread through this book really quickly, the way it is, and picked out a couple. So, excuse the noise. Looking for you. Looking for you through the gray rain. Your whole house is a face. Windows for eyes, door for a mouth. Chimney breathing. Your house waits. You come down the street. You get a stare straight and slow to change. No matter how willing and weak your own face is, you know another face for you, somewhere in the world. Your house, or a stone you choose on a mountain, or even the wrinkled sea and its friend, the wind. Far away, an island off Alaska, there's a village gone back to forest, and there, leaning and peering, totem poles, gray cedar eyes, crest, beak, all those faces at home, staring from shadows, looking for you through the gray rain. This next one is entitled Learning Anytime. We were singing one day about justice, and a piece of iron fell somewhere down the street. At least I think it was justice. It was iron, all right. One time we were early for the rainbow. Lightning waited, crawling for a place to go. It would decide in a minute and then forget in the gray cloud and maybe stay home. It's hard to learn that zigzag before it happens, and not much use after it's gone. You hold your head still and wonder about the world. You can't catch it, no matter how far or wide or hard. Strange how things in the world go together, even when you don't try, how music permeates metal, how a burden you carry takes on a color or leads to a dream you are going to have when the burden is gone. Learning, they call it. This anticipated lightning, this thinking around an event and bringing it right. It's hard to tell if the connection is yours or the world's. It all comes together and you say, I know. But the biggest things and the smallest keep right on. What's the difference if you understand? The heavy will keep on being heavy, and the things that will get you just the same. Here is our 2 more poems for you. Climbing along the river. Actually, yeah. Willows never forget how it feels to be young. Do you remember where you came from? Gravel remembers. Even the upper end of the river believes in the ocean. Exactly at midnight, yesterday sighs away. What I believe is all animals have one soul. Over the land they love, they crisscross forever. Things that happen. Sometimes before great events, a person will try, disguised at his best, not to be a clown. He feels a great event is coming, bow down. And I, always looking for something anyway, always bow down. Once, later that dawn, but early, before the lines of the calendar fell, one of those events turned an unseen corner and came near, sounding before it something opposite from a leper's bell. We were back of 3 mountains called Sisters along the Green Lakes Trail and had crossed a ridge when that one little puff of air touched us, hardly felt at all. That was the greatest event that day. It righted all wrong. I remember it, the way the dust moved there. Something had come out of the ground and moved calmly along. No one was ahead of us, no one in all that moon-like land. Oh, I thought how hard the world has tried with its wind, its miles, its blundering, stumbling days again and again to find my hand. Thank you.
Okay, so we have one more person who is hoping to participate in the open mic portion of things, and that is Jennifer Pratt-Walter. So welcome her now.
Wow, right on stage right away. Okay. This is called Looking Out in the Morning, Carson City. And it's from Even in the Quiet Places. In Nevada, we ordinary people carry our money and throw it into machines for the rich to collect and haul away in trucks with bars on the windows or in their long, dark, mysterious limousines. Will anything we ever did or will do last as long as a flint arrowhead in the hills? But what difference is time? A flower on a yucca, a plume of mist in the morning air, a theory. These all flicker by, even as boulders do when they last only a few million years. But the universe turned over once and stayed when I looked up and my child, across all that ever happened or would happen, was staring everything that there is into my eyes. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to try to do a little test with this other microphone. Yeah, it sounds like it's on, but maybe not turned up. Yeah, there's no light on. A little something is coming, it's just not quite loud enough.